if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, tell us who you are, and kind of the why behind you developed Get More Math.
As a new teacher, I was shocked at how much kids forgot, um, which is really strange because I have like the worst memory. I forget everything I ever learned within hours of having encountered the information or wrestled with it. So why would I think differently from my students? But somehow I had this assumption that if they sort of learned a lesson and did some work and passed a test, we were good. And it just turns out that the brain doesn't work that way, as we all know, again. Um, so for me, teaching at first was all about relationships with kids, like just getting in there and caring about them and investing in their lives and trying to make a difference, trying to get them to really care about themselves and their education. It turns out that while that was the core of me as a teacher throughout my career, that alone wasn't sufficient to actually make sure they learned the math long term. I needed good tactics as well. And this idea for Get More Math kind of grew out of my career long quest to find ways to ensure that kids didn't just learn the material and forget it. For me, it actually, there were years of struggle and a gradual deepening understanding of what makes brains tick and how do you make them change so that content stays and interlocks and becomes powerful. But still, year after year, some frustration. And I can't remember what year it was, maybe my fourth or fifth year of teaching. There was a moment where I had the idea. I was given this classroom that was full of computers. And at that time, I saw that as a downside because our desks were tiny and then the computers were like ringing the room and taking up all this space. And I totally remember my first day of this remedial pre-algebra class. I was walking around the room, and at that time we did an exercise where I had the kids think about what are your objectives for this year? What are you hoping to accomplish? And I was walking around, and I would always do the exercise in my head. And midway down the aisle, walking between the kids, all of a sudden I thought, wait, computers in my room. I will write a program to deal with long-term attention. Like that, just it was like there was a moment. There were all these moments before I had the idea where the idea wasn't in my head, and then after that moment, and ever since, the idea has been in my head. It's the only time in my life that's happened where I like my skull cracked open and an idea jumped inside, and my skull closed up again, and so it was kind of wonderful. I experienced it as a gift, and I've pursued that vision, then like fleshing that out from that point, which has been a long time, actually, 16 years. And now I look back and I'm like, well, it popped in my head because I've be banging my head on the brick wall of long-term attention year after year, and just, you know, it's funny how ideas come to you. Like, it didn't come out of nowhere, right? It came out of years of painful experimentation of sort of unrest with things as they were.